Today I want to talk about normal monsters, or more specifically, non-effect monsters. Non-effect monsters like these specifically. It's really sad so many of these cards exist and there's no reason to play them. And I think Konami did a pretty bad job in the past years trying to give them support. In the past it kind of worked out, but I think the issue gets worse over the years. Sometimes you have something really impressive, like you get an effect monster like the Red Eyes Dark Mortician. It was, I think, the fusion with Red Eyes and Dark Mortician, but that card overshadows pretty much all the fusions of Red Eyes. Kinda makes a Red Eyes fusion really restrictive. And it's kind of sad. There are so many monsters you would want to use, and what Konami does is just make retrains, but because that's probably the easiest way to make these cards worth playing. But then there are things where you say, man, I like this card. I got it as a secret rare. I got it with no special pack or whatnot. And these people cannot get the benefit of using this card. Konami tried making Blue Eyes, for example, really good. Blue Eyes is really good. But Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is absolutely worthless. There's no reason to use this card except for really specific niches as um to get it as fodder for another card, not actually as a boss monster. And there's an exception to the rule. I think Blue Eyes Shining Dragon would be nice if you can use it, because I like Blue Eyes Shining Dragon. But I think there are people who would like to use this Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon because it also has really neat artworks. And if we go checking out the other Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragons, specifically this one, Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, I think this card looks hideous with this shoe on the feet and this weird tail. I mean, the upper part looks fine, but the other, it looks really. I don't really want to summon this card, and it still is kinda bad in my mind. But I think more people would like. You have all these cards, and there's no reason to run these. But if you look at something really interesting, I have talked about this in other videos. You check out Rush Duels. You have also a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. And in Rush Duels, for some reason, this card is not only summonable, and I will talk about it, why this should not be summonable from, if you know Rush Duels. It's also competitively viable. There's a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon structure deck in Rush Duels. Wouldn't it be nice to get a structure deck for Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon? Just thought it's like one of the most iconic boss monsters in the franchise. Like, you have Blue Eyes White Dragon, fine, it's an iconic card. Get support, but the fusion variant in general for Blue Eyes is kind of worthless. There's pretty much no reason to play Fusion Blue Eyes despite the new fusion cards you got. because Blue Eyes Fusion Monsters is another one that's decently good, and by that I mean it outclasses all the other Blue Eyes Fusions. Not in the same vein as the Red Eyes Fusion with Dark Mortician outclasses all the other Red Eyes Fusions. And you would say, okay, the fusions have different effects than the other cards, but like the effect of Red Eyes Dark Mortician is so insanely powerful, so there's no reason to use the Meteor Dragon or the Black Skull Dragon variant. Also, how does Rush Duel make it possible that you can run this card despite Blue Eyes White Dragon being a legend card? And what are legend cards? Legend cards are cards you can only have one per card type in your deck, and only one. That means you can only run one Blue Eyes in your deck. How do you summon a monster that requires 3 times the same material if you can only run one? And in normal, in our average Yu-Gi-Oh, you have not only 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons, you also have Blue Eyes Alternative Dragon, who, when it's on the field, it's treated as Blue Eyes. And Rush Duels has something similar. And it has Blue Eyes Vision Dragon. And this is really interesting. When you have a dragon with 8 or higher level, you can just special summon this in defense mode. I think this effect would be nice. You can send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. This turn it's treated as Blue Eyes White Dragon, and if you use it to fusion summon Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, it counts as 2 materials. So you can summon Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon with just 2 fusion materials, which is great to say. Actually, this card would be nice if it was printed in the real game, but I think if this card were in a normal Yu-Gi-Oh, I think that would not be enough because you require way too much resources to summon this card, I feel. You also have Blue Eyes Bright Dragon, which, while it's in your hand, it's counted as a Blue Eyes. When it's on the field, you can send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. It gains 500 attack and it counts as Blue Eyes, so basically it has the stats of Blue Eyes. And if you control a legend monster, legend normal monster, meaning if you have Blue Eyes White Dragon on your field, while you summon this card, you can just destroy one level 8 or lower monster on the field, which in this format wouldn't be too special. I think this card is kinda underpowered by modern Yu-Gi-Oh standards, but it looks really good. Maybe if it were printed in normal Yu-Gi-Oh, they could buff its effect a little bit more, because there are some mechanics in Rush Duels that don't exist in normal duels. I think there's no banishing, so you can give this a banishing effect. You can upgrade the effect so it banishes. And legend cards don't exist, so you can, if you control a normal monster, you can have this effect activation. Maybe give it a special summon condition, would be nice. And what do we have? They have their own Ultimate Dragon Fusion spell, which lets you summon any level 10 or higher Dragon type fusion monster with up to 3 materials. And the reason why it's basically polymerization is because in Rush Duels you draw until you have 5 cards in your hand, so fusion summoning is way easier, so most fusion spells, splashable fusion spells use the field, so fusing from the hand is a kind of a privilege, to say the least. There's polymerization, but it's a legend card, so you can only use one polymerization in your deck. And that monster fusion summon with this card is unaffected by card effects. So you have a protection effect for your Blue Eyes White Dragon. But this is not a Blue Eyes video, this is just explaining why Blue Eyes is so easy to summon. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is so easy to summon. There's also Soul Drake and Soul Knight, which are just cards that are on Soul release. There are more examples. I want to keep some for future videos. Like there's Meteorite Fusion. I mentioned this in my Meteor Dragon video. Meteorite. Okay, let's just go to this, and then I should be able to find the fusion spell. And for Red Eyes, that's it. Meteor Flare Fusion, which lets you summon a fusion monster that has Red Eyes Black Dragon, Summon Skull, or Meteor Dragon in its card text. And if you fusion summon a non-effect monster, you can destroy one card. So still underpowered by modern Yu-Gi-Oh standards, but you get that drill. Also, it would be nice if we get some support cards that just makes you want to play non-effect monsters. And you can do it directly, and you can do it indirectly. And I think why is nobody playing this card? Because sending a face-up monster to the graveyard to draw out cards is kinda underwhelming. Would be, I have a few interesting thoughts about it. It happened to me a few days ago. So you can have these spell cards like Spell Card Monster Reborn. You saw it early here. So this is a quick spell card version of Monster Reborn. You can only run this once per turn, I guess. Let's see, some use it on your opponent's turn. And I've been thinking what classic cards you could benefit from it. And I've been thinking how to balance some old cards that are insanely powerful. And so what makes Pot of Greed? So how could you balance the power of Pot of Greed and still get the benefit? I've been thinking about it, and I think I kinda figured a possible solution. So most of the time when you saw Pot of Greed, why was it not too powerful in the old formats? And I think the reason is because monster effects and graveyard effects are way too prevalent. Your graveyard is no longer just a resource, it's your second hand. It's way more powerful than it used to be. Your hand, the cards in your hand have way too many effects. So how do we treat these powerful effects to get something worthwhile? And I think a possibility would be if you can only use Pot of Greed, even Graceful Charity, once per turn, but in exchange you cannot use your graveyard resources. Meaning any effect, be it spell cards or monster effects or trap effects, cannot be used from the graveyard. And you cannot activate monster effects this turn. All your monster effects, you cannot activate monster effects, would be something I could think. Like, there are so many insanely powerful monster effects. So restricting it to a point where you cannot um, gains the benefits of such cards would be a possibility, and maybe a restriction to your extra deck that you can only summon non-effect monsters is something that comes to mind. So indirectly supporting non-effect monsters is a possible way where Konami can cut off, give non-effect monsters some shine without you requiring to actually drawing these non-effect monsters. I think that's a big weakness, because if they are in your hand and you don't have all these specific cards, your normal monsters are dead. Or if you don't have the normal monsters and you want to activate these cards, then these specific cards are dead. So you need to find some kind of middle ground for these kind of cards. Tokens are obviously a problem. Pendulum cards are a problem. These are the things that kinda ruin the ability of support for these kinds of cards. This is why I don't like pendulums. So specifically for Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, or maybe the Red Eyes monsters. Like, if you think about Meteor Dragon, how could you make Meteor Dragon, Meteor Black Dragon worth playing? Easy to summon, like summoning conditions that make it much more easier than a normal fusion monster. So I don't know if we have it yet, but one material fusion spells would be a possibility. I don't think Meteor Black Dragon is so OP or so dangerous that if you just use one of these as fusion materials and summon it, it would break the game. It's just a 3500 attack monster. It has nothing. It has no protection. It probably is gonna get trashed by whatever your opponent has. So that's where the other support cards would come in. Because look at Thunder Dragon Colossus. Discard one card, one Thunder Dragon. If you discard Thunder Dragon, you can just tribute a Thunder monster fusion, just summon and Colossus. Or was it Thunder Dragon Colossus? Let's read the effect, because you have to see that the summoning condition is you can tribute a Thunder monster. Wait. During the turn, a Thunder monster effect was activated in the hand by tributing one Thunder effect non-fusion monster. I don't even know why it has to be an effect monster. In which case you use no polymerization. So what you can technically do, you have Thunder Dragon. No, that's probably a bad example. Let me think of any Thunder monster. I don't even need to think, I just click this and we pick any random Thunder effect monster you can find. So this is pretty interesting, easy to summon. We can't use this. We can't use Ryo because it Seika cannot be special summoned. Okay. You drop Thunder Dragon to add Thunder Dragon in your hands, then you tribute this card and you have already a Thunder Dragon Colossus. That's that's all. And then it has pretty much the same effect as Thunder King Ryu, which prevents both players from adding cards from their deck. Your opponent from adding cards from their deck. This is better than Ryu. And it cannot be destroyed by card effects. Because you can just banish a Thunder monster from your graveyard. This is OP. So if you have our spell cards that uses only one material, it's still worse than this card summoning condition. I think it would be a fair card to play, like activate whatever the name of the spell is, fusion spell is, send Meteor Dragon from your hand or field to the graveyard, summon Meteor Black Dragon. That's something. I think the card needs about even a additional effects, so it's worth playing because I don't think anyone is gonna stop playing Meteor Dragon after such a Meteor Black Dragon because of such a card existing. Something interesting. Let's go back to Meteor Dragon. Add to Red Eyes, Blue Eyes White Dragon, because in the video games, Forbidden by Memory, where is it? Forbidden Memories. That it is a ritual monster, and to summon it, unless you settle, you can. You need to ritual summon this, and the ritual spell is Ultimate Dragon. Wait, did see? No. Wow, this has so many variations. But the interesting thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro, what they did is this fusion spell, Ultimate Dragon, has the following effect. That, oh, it has a password. That's expensive. Okay. You can fusion summon Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon using Blue Eyes White Dragons from your hand, field, and your deck. Which is interesting because if you drop all the Blue Eyes White Dragons from your deck to the graveyard, summon Ultimate Dragon, and maybe tribute it to Shiny Dragon, you get near the attack points back. To get the beneficial effect. And the only thing Konami might fear if this card becomes a reality is the spell card Neutral Blast. But what does Neutral Blast do? If I can find it, it should be here. Neutral Blast. Was it Neutron Blast? Neutron Blast, here it is. Target one fusion summon Blue Eyes White Ultimate Dragon you control. This turn it can make 2 more attacks, or 3, and when it attacks, your opponent cannot use effects until the end of the damage step. So this effect is less underwhelming than I recall. It's still a powerful effect. So I think even if this spell card gets printed with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro effect where you can just use materials from your deck and add Neutron Blast from your deck to your hand, it still would be a fair trade-off in my mind. In fact, instead of just that, they could even let you they could let you use monsters that list 3 Blue Eyes White Dragon as fusion materials from your deck, extra deck to the graveyard, and you can just use Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon's second effect for protection. I think that would be a fair effect in my mind, but I don't know what if they would dare to print this effect. Such effects. This is turning into a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon video. I was kinda intending to make a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon video, but it is what it is. I'm glad Kaminari attack her. And speaking, discard. Wait, is this the... Yeah, discard, but I picked the wrong one. Got buffed. It is used as Thunder Dragon. I don't know how many Thunder Fusion monsters exist, but yeah. And they need to reprint this for the Thunder Dragon players. Mega Cannonball. Could I make an entire support lineup just to support non-effect monsters like these? Obviously, the problem is like pendulums, and to balance around pendulums, which are kind of outclassing and tuner monsters, and indirectly supporting by accident overpowered fusion monsters, extra monsters. So generally, I think possible ways to support non-effect monsters and normal monsters is build restrictions that prevent you to access your graveyard resources, your second hand, in exchange for powerful draw effects or summon effects, and restrict your extra deck to non-effect monsters maybe, or obviously the additional effects, like if you give some decent effects, and if you happen to use non-effect monsters, you get boosted effects. Like for now, let's take Magician of Black Chaos. So what could you do to make a ritual non-effect monster worth playing? So if you say you're a spell card that lets you draw both the ritual monster and the spell card, we have Prep, which can even do that for effect monsters. It would be nice to have a spell card that lets you just ritual special summon as a ritual summon in quotation marks the ritual monster that has no effect by sending the ritual spell or materials from your hand or deck to the graveyard, or vice versa, that you can summon directly from your deck to the field by sending materials from the field or hand to the graveyard. It's kind of difficult to think of something that could specifically make this card powerful. Really amazing design. I really don't like the retrain design, except Magician of Black Chaos that was banned for quite a while, but then got an errata that made it completely worthless. Look at this. New Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, basically. I don't know, would anyone play this? specifically lists Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. But you can just summon it with any Blue Eyes monster. From the egg, something ugly. With this card, so when this card leaves the field, because of an opponent's card, you can just summon any Blue Eyes monster from your extra deck, which could technically let you summon Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon again, but you probably summon Blue Eyes Ultimate Alternative Dragon. Where's it? Blue Eyes Ultimate Alternative Dragon. This one. Is unaffected by card effects and can destroy one card per turn. If it were fusion summoned using Alternative Dragon, it can pop up to 3 cards. But I think you don't even need to set this bonus effect. So these are some ideas. In Rush Duel, it's much easier to execute because you draw more cards, so you are not gonna clock out because you have some normal monsters in your hand. But normal monsters have more. But in normal view, you draw just one card, so it would be nice if you could just... Heart of the Underdog, wait. So, they could retrain this card. The problem with Heart of the Underdog is that in the first turn you played, it does nothing. So, instead of that, they could do the reverse, where you can just activate the effect this turn, but it works kind of different. Instead of draw phase, you can just reveal one normal monster, draw one card, and then go through the next effect, draw until you draw a non-effect monster, non-pendulum effect monster. You know what I mean. Like, restricted to normal monsters that are not pendulum monsters. So if you draw any of these, the effect ends for this turn. And maybe give it a beneficial effect, like when you were to summon a non-effect monster, you can just use one material if it has listed materials. So you could technically use level 4 monster to summon Pearl as the XYZ level 4 monster with 2600 attack. It's the only out to all film for people that cannot just equip monsters. What's this? Never heard of this form. You know, Heart of the Underdog was such a good card back in the day because of something you used to be able to pull out. But the card got errated, and even the anime did something with this. It's Spirit. So before the errata, you could just discard up to any dragons, but now you can just discard one dragon per level. So this clocks in on 1000 attack, but back in the day you could just boost this card's attack to insane levels. Maybe it's written in the errata. Here you can see each time you discard one dragon monster. Doesn't stop. Yeah, the intended use of this card has been changed. I miss the old one, where you could just discard. Even here it's written like that. So, but in the anime, its effect was used differently. Where everyone just dumped all the dragons they had and just boosted this card's attack to 3000 or 6000. Well, you can just look at the anime to see what I mean. This card appeared like twice. Kaiba used it and Yugi used it in filler arcs. Grand Prix was, I think, and in the Virtual World arc. And these were nice ways to support non-effect monsters. Do we have anything else we could discuss? Hazy Flame Hydra, what is this? Is this another non-effect monster? It's a dinosaur. Effect monsters being given against some cards with non-effects. Units for the summon require for referral of a non-effect monster is given this one. Oh yeah, Gemini monsters. The SWAT hunter. Oh, this is bad. Draco bag, say Rideable Dragon, what does this do? Equipped to monster. Yeah, weird card. First of Tangri, Shaman. It's a Tangri archetype, kind of works for non-effects. We got a fusion spell, not a fusion spell, it's like we had got a kind of retrain for instant fusion. To instant fusion, you have this one that clocks at level 5, and it is limited in both. Then there should be a upgraded version, but I don't know the name. Instant type. What's this? Pay 1000. Special sound 1 or go wrong. What's that like? Okay, this is allowing you to special summon. Nails, but this is the one I meant. Which lets you summon, which gives you basically 4 instant fusions, but the others are restricted to using non-effect fusion monsters. But you can summon fusion monsters with level 6 or higher. What's the tip saying? Let's clock to the highest level monsters we can. Some you can finally use. You can summon this, which has 3 materials and is still pretty bad. You can summon Brachiosaurus, which looks nice. You have to fusion summon using two meat-eating dinosaurs, and then you get a plant eater. You can summon Crimson Sunbird. And again, it's this card. This spell card lets you just summon these monsters so you can use them for tribute fodder or extra deck material for another monster. And it cannot attack. Would it make such a difference if these monsters could attack this turn? Since it's kinda a pointless restriction. Rather beetle. But you get the point. Like, Skullbird Dragon. I mean Skullbird, not Dragon. I think that's pretty good. It's a pretty good card. I wish we could get more. Maybe a synchro version. Maybe an XYZ version. We don't need a Link version because Link, you know, is weird. But think about it. If you could just basically it gives you an out for just running all three, and then you can just stack them up and get a special summon three monsters and get anything you want, basically. Like if you have the synchro variation, you just special summon Gaia, and then you use instant ready fusion, get Skullbird, and then you overlays him for a rank 6 XYZ monster. So maybe if these non-effect monster support cards had more restrictions, it could be a little better. For the health of the game, but that's enough from my side. Maybe you guys have an idea how to support non-effect monsters in a way where they are not too worthless. Thanks for watching, and we see each other.